Welcome to the commentary video of Genesis chapters 46 and 47. Now Israel gets up and goes to the land of Egypt from the land of Canaan. And God comes to Jacob and says, "Go down to Egypt and I will go with you and go before you." Wherever God calls you to go in life, he has already gone ahead to prepare everything for you. If you try to live by your own will, you'll get in a lot of trouble. But if you follow God's will of him leading you left or right, then he will prosper your way. Can you honestly say that you're living in God's will, doing everything that he wants you to do? If you can't, I would strongly consider that you spend a lot of time in prayer. Close the doors, close the blinds, meditate in solitude, talk to our Father, and he will lead you on your way. We must do this daily, because not all days are the same. Now, I'm not going to go through all of Jacob's descendants. I, like you, do not enjoy reading the genealogies, but I do it for you, because I love you. All of Jacob's house were 70 people. That's all you need to know here. Now, Joseph meets with Jacob after 22 years, and they embraced each other and cried. Mind you, these were manly men, and they still showed emotion. Who are you? Who told you that men don't cry? Jesus wept. Walking around being emotionally repressed and feeling isolated is Satan's design. It's not God's. Now that said, don't just start crying literally everywhere. There's a time and place to do it. Joseph and Jacob here cried out of the love that they had for each other. It's interesting that shepherds were an abomination to the Egyptians, and that's why the land of shepherds was in the land of Goshen. But Joseph tells Jacob to tell Pharaoh that they are shepherds by trade so that they can live in the land of Goshen, which is where the prosperous land is. And this benevolent Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Egypt is before you. Settle your father and your brothers in the best of the land. Let them settle in the land of Goshen. And if you know any able men among them, put them in charge of my livestock." This is a really cool Pharaoh, and it shows the benevolence of God himself to say, Jesus, call people who will love you to me, and I will give them the best in the land. And if you know any among them who are capable, put them in charge of my kingdom. He calls each and every single one of us Christians to go out there and do ministry work, whether it's people who can street evangelize, that's not my talent, or those who can help disciple others and build them up, and even those who can play music to lead worship. We're all given spiritual gifts to help grow the kingdom. We become shepherds of sheep, and we ourselves are sheep. And now you're thinking, how could a shepherd who's a sheep pasture other sheep? It is our duty that our shepherd has given to us. And if we don't do it, then we're no longer part of his flock. Don't take that for granted. I love this interaction between Jacob and Pharaoh. Pharaoh is the ruler over all of Egypt, and Jacob, when he meets Pharaoh, blesses him. How many people do we bless in our daily life? I think we need to normalize blessing people with our words again. This country is tearing itself apart, people being angry with one another and speaking in disrespect. It's easy to tear someone down. I'm a pro at it. It's harder to build someone up and encourage them. I'm getting better at it. And Pharaoh asks Jacob, "How old are you?" And Jacob says, "I'm 130 years old." Okay, so if this is year 2 of the famine, Joseph is 39. So Joseph was born to Jacob at 91 years old. That's crazy. My son was born when I was in my mid-30s, and I'm exhausted. I can't imagine what Jacob is feeling. So now Jacob departs from Pharaoh, and they settle in the land of Goshen, and they have plenty of food. Now this next passage to the end of this chapter is very important in setting up the events of the book of Exodus. Because of the famine in the land, the people were buying food from Pharaoh's food stores. When they ran out of money, they then sold their livestock to Pharaoh. I still don't know why they just won't eat these animals, but yet they sold all their livestock for grain. So they eat that, then they run out again. At this point, they have nothing left to buy food for, so they offer their land and themselves to Pharaoh. And thus, because of their hunger, they chose to become slaves to Pharaoh. So when you hear about the story of Moses and the Israelites who were slaves to a terrible Pharaoh, you understand now how that started. But it wasn't just the Hebrews. It was all of Egypt that was enslaved. That means that the people who were driving the Hebrews hard in labor were also servants to Pharaoh. It's all because of this passage here. And Joseph made it a statute that everything the residents of Egypt plant and harvest, a fifth of it needs to be given to Pharaoh. And y'all are complaining about a 10% tithe. 1/5 of 100 is 20%. These people gave more to Pharaoh than you give to God, if you give at all. So don't complain about the tithe, because what you give to God. Maybe you don't want to give to your church. Maybe you don't fully agree with your church, in which case I'd ask you, why do you go to that church? Go to a different church. But you can give to causes. You can give to charities. You're giving to God out of what he already gave you. So don't complain about the tithe. I'm not interested in arguing with you. I've said what I said. And all of Israel settled in Egypt, and they became plenty. They all multiplied there. And one of the reasons why the Pharaoh in Exodus became threatened after a few hundred years go by is because the numbers of the Hebrews were much greater than the numbers of the Egyptians. And he was threatened by their power. Now, Jacob lived in Egypt 17 years, which is interesting because Joseph was 17 years when he was sold into slavery in Egypt. Now, Joseph was 58 years old when his father passed away. And now Jacob asks Joseph that when he perishes, that he be buried in the same cave that Abraham bought for Sarah that we read in the previous chapter. And that's it. Genesis chapters 46 and 47 done. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video where I finish up the book of Genesis reading 48 to 50. And after that, I'll do a summary video, and then we'll jump into the book of Ecclesiastes.